Hello, everybody. So today we're going to talk about kind of rendering concepts and things that you can do to make renderings a little bit more welcoming and happy. First things first, renderings are a tool to essentially sell an idea or a concept, just like a good piece of marketing or a good piece of drawing or anything that you can do to sell a project. So these drawings are going to be looked at, these renders are going to be looked at by a lot of people from different points of view, different perspectives, and there are things that you do not want. You don't want to call their attention to certain details that are not yet resolved or not yet solidified. You do not want to get them to feel negative about it. You want them to feel positive, happy, excited, to look at it from the most kind of like welcoming point of view, even those that don't like development. And you would be surprised to hear that some people don't like developments. Actually, most people in some of these neighborhoods don't want developments. They don't want it. They are against it. They think that the neighborhood is just fine the way it is. Sometimes it's not the case, but often it is, and you will find someone that will fight it and resist it. So how do you mitigate that? How do you challenge that? Is by telling a compelling and simple and beautiful story with your renderings. Renderings are a form of art, and I take it very seriously. I take renderings very seriously. So, so that's it. I'll go and criticize these renderings just to be constructive, not necessarily to be denigrating of anyone, just to be constructive. And then I'll tell you how I would approach it and how I would fix those problems. So, there's the series of renderings, and these are some of the latest iterations of them. But we'll kind of look at them and be as constructive as possible with them. So from the get go, I'll tell you, starting from the left, a couple of things I can say. I wish when you're setting up a camera for a rendering, make sure that you tell the story, but also leave some room for imagination, and don't focus so much on the building itself. You would say, what? That's the most important thing. It's like, no, actually, the most important thing is the viewer visualizing themselves onto this structure or walking by this structure. Like that's really when they're excited and invited in. So this crop, it's a little too tight to the building. So that's one. Doesn't give me more room for the imagination to kind of see the landscape, how I can walk through it. The other thing that it doesn't do is that it doesn't give the person that's putting it on a presentation enough room to crop. So you can't really crop much or reduce it because it is limiting. Sometimes giving more sky and ground so that people can crop around it, it helps the designer that's putting together the presentation kind of work around that and have a little bit more room. There were a couple of things though that I corrected that on some of the previous iterations, which I want to apply on this one. So this, if you think about this facade is about 80% or 70% windows. So when you have all these windows in here, before they were black and they wouldn't tell really a good story. They look black. They didn't show the sky. This one show a little bit of the sky and it feels so much better. So this is an amazing improvement from the previous ones. The previous ones look all black. So we do not want to do that. We want to make sure that they feel alive, that they feel vivid. So we talked about the cropping. Let's enlarge it a little bit. We talked about the windows. Let's make it a little bit more bright. All the things that you can do, although this one doesn't have that problem, don't ever cast shadows on your building. So this is fine. It's not too much because it gives perspective, but don't show your building on shadows. Make sure that you move the sky or the sun so that it doesn't show any shadows. Another thing you can do that I wanted to add on that, I like to show as little clouds as possible. I do not like seeing clouds on any of the renderings because clouds, clouds are scary, are creepy. Like, oh, it's gonna snow, it's gonna rain, it's not happy. It's against anything that's happy. Okay, so that's that. So this one can be cropped a little bigger, can activate the windows, and I'll talk more about how you can activate the windows so that they refer to a real space. And when you make the cropping bigger, you can animate it with some trees or some leaves or some things going on. The goal is to make it very happy, to tell a very happy story to the build. All right, so that's that. So this one is not too bad, but I will also try to figure out how to correct this issue right here with the ramp. Right, when you see the sky floating, it kind of immediately makes you feel like, oh, this is not real. This is a lie. Also, again, no skies meeting with the nice yellow of the volume, because that sky, it really just makes the volume disappear into the sky. We want to make sure that we have a contrast between the blue of the sky and the buildings themselves. So that would certainly help. This is not too bad. I would probably still go to the left a little more, to the right a little bit more, and maybe more to the sky. The ground seems to be fine. The ground is, and I don't want to be subjective. I want to be objective. So what I mean by the ground seems to be fine. I don't like to see too much sidewalk. I mean, too much asphalt. So this is not too bad. It's just enough. But some trees, even here, some trees, the eye just really likes to see landscape, nature, happy. The fact that this tree is kind of yellowish doesn't help me that much. Having it a little more green, more happy. This is perfect right here. This one's really good. It's just having that nice feel of happiness that we want to see on the building. We want people to be excited about the building. So, and then, overall, the people seem to be okay. I like to see families walking, kids walking, things like that are happy. These people have no purpose. This old lady seems to be underground. Half of her leg is underground. So it's like, it feels like, tell me a story about this. This guy with his phone is fine. He's cool. This lady here, kind of lost, a little weird. Plus, you don't walk like that, by the way. You wouldn't walk in the middle of the street. That's called jaywalking. So you would want to have a sidewalk or a crosswalk, they call it here, and some sort of crosswalk in here too. And they don't walk randomly on the street. They will be walking randomly on the sidewalk, but they wouldn't walk randomly on the street. You're like, Darwin, why are you paying attention to that? It's just, it's all of these things. Think of it as a symphony. Every note, every instrument tells the same story. If one instrument starts sounding out of tune, you feel it in your ears. So the eye also tells you something isn't right about this. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. So overall, this one is not too bad either. It's an improvement upon the previous one. The windows are better than black and things like that. This one, I need a little bit more ground, and I just told you I don't like to see so much asphalt, but this one is cropped too close, so it doesn't give me, and a little more sky. Because if someone makes a mistake cropping it, then it's a problem there. Maybe I will crop less of this side because this building doesn't matter so much. Just a little less, more on the ground, a little more on this tree. And why not put a tree here? We don't know what's going on with this existing building. We don't care about it. But just make it a little more happy, more fluid, more fun. And I'll show you a couple of things you can do very quickly that will improve all of this renderings. Okay, so that's that. These were some of the, I think, some of the old ones. This is some of the old ones, I think. So you see how black. These two, both of them have this dark, sad feeling to it. Very kind of like almost fall. The trees leaves are kind of about to fall. It just doesn't feel right. By the way, this is not framed wrong. This is good. This is enough space here, almost enough space here, a little more higher, and you're golden. This is a very good view, very nice view, very welcoming view. I like this view very much. I really do. And I think it tells a little bit of the story of the building too. Random things, this seems to be like flat versus this that has some texture. Not sure how that happened. This seems to be flat and this seems to have some texture. This is a street. So this is kind of wrong, right? So this should show a street. This seems to be wrong. But the view doesn't look too bad, but just be accurate. Like, is this a street? Wait a minute. Why isn't cut here and a curve here? Like, try to figure out how to show that street as much as possible. Okay. So that's that. And so let me go into how I would have fixed it and how I have fixed it before in other projects. So this was a rendering as raw as it can be from Revit. Very raw. Some volumes, some shadows, super weird. So I went into Photoshop and I created different groups and I organized every layer in a way that would kind of make sense. So I said, you know what, this needs life. This is like a plaza like thing. It doesn't have life, it doesn't show any life, and it feels very sad. It feels like an abandoned plaza. I don't like it. So the first thing I did was I decided to add some, I added a sky. This one didn't have a good sky, so I added a sky. Then I started working on adding people into the scenery. Started adding people into the scenery. By the way, I grouped all of this. So let me show you. So I started adding people. The guy with the dog looking to the signages and things like that. You're like, well, that's a lot. Like, let me just go little by little so that you can distinguish it because it takes a little bit of effort to see all of the things I added. And you're like, well, that takes a lot of time. It doesn't have to. It actually does not have to take a whole lot. So just be strategic and have a plan for what it is that you're doing. So before, the plaza had no story being told about what stores could be there, about people shopping, about being something vibrant and happy. It had no story whatsoever. So then I started adding people walking. And I created the shadows for the people myself, looking at the fact that the building has the shadows like that. So you will see, then I started to add the logo and pop it, the upcycle logo, and pop it up a little bit. Then I like to overlay lines. So if you can figure out a way of getting the same view and getting the line work from Lumion, do that. So I overlay the lines on top of it. Then I put the Apple sign for store that people know about. Then I put coming soon for some areas. And the eye starts kind of like making a place out of this thing. Then I added a person running in the back, a group of people running in the back. Then one thing, all of these glasses didn't have any storefronts. I added random little storefronts and play with the perspective to show that there is something in the background. So this storefront that you see here with shop, that I added it right here. This is not there. And that's how you would do something for the windows of your building. You can look for windows, things of windows, and you can add it. I added this lady. I put the shadow of the lady. I put a person up here, getting a nice, calling a friend or whatever. Then I added the guy with the dog. And I put the shadows of the guy with the dog. Basically by mirroring the same guy upside down and making it black. That's how you do the shadow. And I started putting more storefronts, Puma, signages, another couple walk and make it a little smaller because of the perspective. Going forward, then you can put more things in here. You can add coming soon. You can add Boloco, some stores that people know about. We can add some things. And keep on going. And then look, I added this guy on the bicycle. I added different. Then in here on this one, I added a kind of like a color wash to it. And you will say, how do you do that? Well, I'll show you later. But did a whole color wash to it. Duplicated the same image and kind of worked on it with a tool called Camera Raw, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And that's how we went from a blank piece of rendering to something happy. And then I made it even brighter. I added more brightness to it, play with the colors a little more. And look, we went from something completely sad to something completely happy. That's exciting. That's welcoming. And it was a very raw look. Even the texture of the coming soon and all that stuff, I revived it. I worked on it. It was really ugly and sad. So that's one option. And it was all literally a bunch of duplicating views, putting images, putting people, and controlling it. I know that Lumion does a lot of the work for you and other rendering softwares, but you should have agency as a designer for what the story that you want to tell needs to be. This is another one. It came out of Revit just like this. This is how it came out of Revit. And what do? Well, first things first, I put a sky. And you see how the sky does not have any clouds or anything. It's just a very strong contrast. It helps. So Then I started adding, so the images look funny with the carousel. There's like a horse carousel there. So I cropped it and literally copy and pasted the carousel in there to make it open. And I started putting trees. You're gonna see how the trees start showing up. Trees show up, trees show up, trees show up, trees show up. This person walking in, invited into this place. Trees show up, trees show up, trees show up, trees show up. Just the same bushes. I have all of these assets, by the way. I have all of these Revit, not Revit, but Photoshop assets in a folder. I can share it with you. So older couple going into the ramp, representing that this is welcoming for everyone, right? A person doing homework outside, someone taking a selfie, person in a bike going by, a little baby in there, which is kind of random, but hey, now it makes sense. The baby has a guy that's saying hi to him, right? So the couple walking, people pointing at the building as something cool, something important, something fun. But everyone here is trying to tell a story. A hot air balloon. You're like, why the heck did you put a hot air balloon on this thing? It's not a real thing, but at the same time, it's a happy thing and it's exciting. You know, I put the glass in front of the people so that the people fade away a little bit more. The glass. Then I brighten it all up so that everything looks cohesive because these images are coming from different places. So it feels out of place if you don't give it something. So I put a filter on it right here. So then you go forward. I added another filter on top of it, which kind of gave it a nice kind of dreamy feel to it. I added a texture on top of it. Literally, this is a texture, a watercolor texture on top of it. Then I added a blue texture on top of it. Then I added another texture on top of it. And this is what I ended up with. So you see how you went from something completely blank, completely sad, completely, oh my gosh, to something cohesive, fun, and exciting. This is not even the final. The final one looks way better than that. But this is kind of how I went about it. So I'll do the same very quickly to one of your renderings. So now you saw that example. Good. So that example. So let's work with this one. Okay. So what do? The first thing I do, I duplicate this layer. Duplicate this layer. I like to always create different layers of this. The second thing I do, this texture has a problem. Instead of going and re-rendering it, you have to make sure your base image is as good as possible. So you can use the clone tool. You go to clone. There's a clone tool around here. Where is it? Where is it? The stamp. So this stamp allows you to literally, and you can make it bigger. Plus, 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 I think it makes it bigger. Okay. And you can select what you want to clone. Okay. So you click Alt and it allows you to clone. And you can repeat that clone down, down, down. So I'm going to do that here. You know, I'll make it a little smaller. Oops, my bad. So, and then you clone, and then you just go straight. Clone, 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 clone. You're like, well, that one's not perfect. No, it's not perfect. You could do it in another way, but it's better than what you already had. Trust me, it really is. You know, you can do it. You can do different. You can actually go straight down with it. But it already helps it. And it's not perfect. It's okay. But look, that's already better than that. Okay? Very quick. Another thing you do. I always like to go into an area called Camera Raw Filter. Really, really, really like that. I really, really love that. So it should be your favorite tool. Please try to use it. So Camera Raw Filter, and I'm going to just get started. Camera Raw Filter allows you to control almost everything separately. Okay, so you have the opportunity to control colors and lights and things like that separately. What I typically like to do, brighten things up. Dark equals sad. Brighten equals happy. Okay, look, that's already way better than what it was before. So you just go into exposure right here. Contrast, you can work with the contrast a little bit. Too much contrast makes it look fake. Too little contrast makes it look too dreamy and too vague. So find the sweet spot between contrast and too much contrast, okay? Highlights, Too much highlight, your eyes want to close when you see it. Too little highlight is creepy. So you got to find the balance between the highlights too. All right. Whites, too white, too little white. Just play with it. But your eye tells you, because your eye doesn't lie to you. You see things every day. So your eye doesn't lie to you. So you can work with the blacks. Then you can work with the colors. I wouldn't mess too much with the colors because of one reason. We want all the renderings to look the same. So if you start changing this, you have to save this as a setting. That's another thing too. You have to save it as a setting so you repeat the same setting, right? So I wouldn't mess too much with it until you learn how to save it as a setting. Texture. You see, sometimes there are areas that look flat. If you go into the texture, it adds texture to it. The brick looks richer. Things look a little bit better. Clarity, too much clarity makes it look creepy, kind of like too much. It's just too much. Too little clarity makes it too dreamy. You have to find the balance between one and the other. The haze makes it too sharp. Too much haze makes it too dreamy. So you got to find the spot between the two. Okay? And find the sweet spot between the two. Vignette, I always like vignette. Not too much, not too little. A little vignette makes it look a little more focused. Grain, I don't like too much grain. It looks too dreamy and too fake. So not too much. But that's that. Another thing I always like to do, and this is also a matter of preference, is that I like to go, and these are all the tools right here. So you can, this is the lighting, this is the color, this is the effects. On color, I sometimes like to revive the saturation so that it feels a little happier, not too fake. I like to revive it a little bit, not too much. Sometimes I like to kill it too. So it's a matter of like, what's the look you want to go with, you know? That's one. So it went from that to that in a second. I mean, I'm explaining it while I do it. All right. So I come back and duplicate that layer, and I can use these overlay things to start giving them different styles. So with this one, look, the screen makes it look even happier. It went from that to hat. I like that. I like that. Way happier. If it's too much, you minimize it with the opacity. If it's too much. Okay? You see how that looks? Sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. All right, what else? This you don't have access to, but I'll get it to you. This thing right here, this paper, I you don't have it, but I do have it. So what I do is I grab it from here and I drag it into this one and I'll drop it right here and put it on the top. And it gives it that kind of watercolorish starting to give it that watercolorish look. Okay. Okay, so okay, it's like that. It's just a paper. Literally is a paper with an overlay. And you're like, oh, that's not doing anything. Yes, it is. It's making it way happier than what it was before. The other one I did, apart besides this one, was this blue one. Not all of them apply to the same, but look, I added the blue one. Doesn't look bad. Maybe too much. So just lower the thing a little bit. Just lower it a little bit. Okay. Well, now your eye, that's sad. Happier, 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 happier. Seconds. Seconds. One thing I like to do too, you can create another layer and click Control Alt W. Control Shift W. Oh, my bad. Hold on. Control Alt Shift W. Oh, it's not working for me. Hold on 1 second. This is live. Control Shift W. Oh, my bad. So Control Shift W isn't working because I haven't saved it. So let me save it. Bear with me. I'm gonna save this on my desktop very quickly. Right? And I'm gonna do now Control Shift W. Oh, it just closed it. My bad. Oh, sorry guys. I just did this before I met with you. But it is a tool that allows you to my bad. So so Control Shift E makes all of the layers into one image. Control Shift E. Control Shift Control E deletes one of the previous ones. And so that's that. And so this is a connection on that. I'm gonna pause this recording for a second because there's something that needs my attention. I'll be with you in a second. Yo te estaba llamando porque se me olvidó decirte. Can you go to Beverly and pick up? Sorry, there is a site plan in Beverly that was printed for Bellevue. It's a near picking it up. So there's those plans are in the conference of his, but the site plan is in Beverly. So you know what? He can go straight there and pick it up from Alex. But the thing is, tell Alex that I'll call him to pay. Hey, so the site plan is ready. I jumped into the loop. So you can either wait here. I know. So this guy that just called earlier too, he already called me. It's not gonna be made a priority. I'm gonna yell at him right now. Like you can't get whatever you want whenever you want to. No, I'm calling somebody else.
Is emergency call 911. You know what's
They should have reviewed the drawings before starting construction and called us before they started construction. I can't tell him how to build. Dude, this project's 2 years old. Remember that? You know which one it is. It's like now they call me desperate.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex. Hey Alex. So I'm gonna send someone named Amir to pick up that site plan and I can pay you right now. Yeah. All right, so sorry about that quick interruption for a second. So we have all of this done here. You know, like I said, adding random things like this hot air balloon, you know, it adds a touch to it. Adding this kind of watercolor look to it, it really makes it way happier, way more exciting. You know, the base renderings that these softwares do, AI will replace you if that's all you do, because AI could do just better than us. But this creativity and textures and colors and feel, oh, babe, AI will never get to that. It's just never gonna get to that. And I'm a promoter of AI, as you guys know. So, but it's just never gonna get to that level. That level is the humane side of architecture. Throwing that little air balloon there. Another item I want to add real quick, a little nugget for you. E. Control Shift E creates a render version of the final. Control Alt Shift E. Okay, so you do Control Alt Shift E. It's kind of funny to do it with your hands, but it creates a render version of the whole thing. And now I add the final touch to this thing. And you say, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? I like to do lens blurs and lens flares. You're like, what? Yeah. So this one right here, it's not that great. I don't like it that much. But there's a lens flare that you can do under filter, lens correction, vanishing point, blur. I like the lens glare. Gaussian blur is pretty fun too. It makes it more like sketchy looking. You could tell. Makes it like more sketchy looking. But not the greatest. But I want the lens flare. What is the lens flare? By the way, just so you know, there's a gallery of filters. You know, you can use filters from the gallery. Filter, and then go to filter gallery. And you can add a bunch of filters to this. Texturize, stylize, artistic. But these things are not that great. They're just not that great, honestly. They're really not that great. It's good to know about them and test them, but they're really not that great. I would probably use them as an overlay. What do I mean by that? All right, so you have that one. You have created another duplicate of this one with Control Shift Alt E. I think that's what I said, right? Control Shift Alt E. Yes. And then you can go here and apply that filter that I just created. And then you can go here and do an overlay of that filter and play with the different blending tools. And then give it opacity. It's just really like a little tool to kind of like make it a little nicer. Another one I like very much, filter gallery. There's one tool that brings about all the lines. Sketchy relations, charcoal. Maybe it's this one. Torn edges. Maybe it's the torn edges. You're like, why are you doing that, Darwin? You just destroy your own thing. Nope. You can use the mixing thing right here. Yeah, none of those are helping. Yeah, this one's not helping. Now, keep in mind, I did these last like 10 years ago. So I've lost a little bit of my touch, but nonetheless, isn't this way better than what we started with? And what's better? Happier, more exciting. Maybe I did too much. There are things I may have done too much. You know, maybe I did too much with that one. Maybe that one was better. Maybe this is too much too. So the lens flare, I can't find it on this thing anymore. I'm not sure why. It was something that I copied a lot from BR Angle. They did a lot of lens flare or glare, lens glare. It was a thing that they would do on almost all of the renderings before. Let's see, lens correction. Sure what lens correction is the one. Yeah. So lens correction didn't do anything. But I can't find the lens glare. Sorry, guys. Lens blur. Aerial blur. But I'll tell you what it is. So lens glare is this right here. You're going to see it in a minute. Because I added it to this one. Oh, you can't see it here now. This is not the latest. But it is basically a bunch of like circles and light and things like that. Let me see where I can find lens I'm just looking for it real quick on ChatGPT. Um, okay, but it is a filter, and I really like it. And I'm sorry I'm wasting too much of your time. The tools have changed ever since I used it, but the lens player is one of my favorite ones for sure. Can't find it right now. Yeah, can't find it. It's Blur. It's not that. Can't be that. Animation it is. Let me see if I can see it one more time real quick. I don't want to give up on the lens correction, but it is something. No, it's not lens correction. Lens and blur, lens blur. That's not the one. Right. Yeah, it's none of these ones. My bad. Although it does help a little bit. I won't lie to you that having that tone of like bluiness to it, it makes it a little more friendly. But hey, with this, you have plenty to work with. I'm gonna send this PSD file so you can borrow all of my watercolor kind of features, and you should have more than enough to work with. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.